and welcome to this Kubla Cubed podcast. We're really excited today to be talking about something that Kubla have been working towards for some time now, which is the release of Kubla Cubed 2026. We're going to be joined by tech lead Rich, who's going to give us some insight into development and what users can expect from the software. Thanks for joining us, Rich.
Thanks for having me.
So for anyone new to Kubla Cubed, can you briefly explain what the software does and who it's for?
So it's earthworks estimating and quantity takeoff. It's a tool used by people around the world, by engineers, surveyors, estimators, a wide variety of people. The cool thing about our software is that it's not supposed to be tech heavy, and this is part of our overall goal, is that we're just trying to keep it nice and simple, easy to use, and without having to introduce lots of CAD terminology. A lot of people deal with CAD files, and we support CAD files, but they don't necessarily have that CAD background, and using our tool, you don't need to have it.
So what were the main priorities when planning Kubla Cubed 2026?
So the focus of 2026 is to improve the workflow. So that's the central core part of it. We are aware that there are certain things that the software can't do, and we wanted to remove some of these workarounds. There's lots of different data that you can import into Cubed, but we really want to expand the range of files that we support directly. You can import other file formats, but there's usually some kind of workaround. So our priority really is to try and streamline that workflow by supporting these file formats more directly, specifically LAS, E57, some land XML, a range of new formats really, to try and make things a lot easier.
So kind of leading on from that, which new features or enhancements do you think are going to have the biggest impact on users' day-to-day work?
It's a difficult question to answer because different people are going to get different things out of the software. I think certainly those people who are used to having some other piece of software that exports LAS files, and they would previously have had to convert those files through some kind of possibly some external tool. They're going to get a lot of value because it would just be simply from a drop-down menu, say E57 or LAS file, and you just say, I want this, and it imports it, and you think, well, that's straight in. A lot of other people will gain benefit from some of the changes that we've made to the measurement tools, and we've expanded those quite a lot as well. So quite a range of people are going to get quite a lot of benefits from different things.
What changes will users notice immediately when they start working in 2026?
So we've got an analysis mode, which is the top left, which has got lots of the shading systems that are already available in the bottom right of the software, but which a lot of people weren't even aware of existed. So you'll be able to start off by saying, okay, well, I want to look at the cut and fill today, or I want to look at the elevation map, or I want to look at just basically how different elements override each other for the calculation engine. So I think that's having that analysis mode, that sort of what do you want to use the software for today, is going to be really cool. People will notice that there's got these additional tools in the tools menu, so the simplification tool, the drape tool. These will all improve greatly on their workflows, and then the measurement tools, which we've also expanded as well. Visually, there's going to be quite a lot of changes that people will see, perhaps a lot more so than say previous releases where we focused more on the architecture. This is actually the top bit that people get to see.
How much of Kubla Cubed 2026 was influenced by customer feedback, and are there any features that actually came directly from user requests?
So the majority of it is from customers. On our forums, people have said it would be really cool if we had this. We get emails and people saying, thanks for helping with whatever project. I've got this idea. It would be really cool to have this in terms of what people have asked for. That's specifically the drape tool and the simplification tool. But there's a lot of other bits and pieces where people wanted something like to export things in situ. So the Google Earth export is going to be really cool for people to actually see the project actually where it will be used, and not just sort of some model that's floating in space.
So what was the biggest technical challenge, would you say, during the development of this version?
I think the biggest consumer of time, for sure, and also perhaps the most complex, is the introduction to a geodetic coordinate system. So we wanted to make the system better able to handle setting it into a different coordinate system. So we now support longitudinal and latitudinal data, but it's more than just input boxes. Obviously, you can imagine it's actually embedding it into the whole rest of the system and making sure that it works with it. It's a very big job to implement, very technical, and quite time consuming, but definitely worth it.
What part of the release are you personally most excited about?
There's a few things, if I'm allowed to say a few things, not just one thing. But so the drape tool and the simplification tool, I'm excited that for the reason that I spent a lot of time personally working on those. The simplification, because when you initially import data, you can simplify it before it actually goes into the actual topographical editor. But the problem is at the moment is if you then said, oh, actually, I've got too much data, you can't then easily go back. So you might just, the way to do it at the moment is you basically might delete some data and then re-import it. Now what you'll be able to do is use the same simplification tool that you can do with the initial import, but this time you can do it post-import. So you can selectively say, oh, well, this bit I can see doesn't add much extra definition to the model. We can simplify this. And the drape tool basically is going to be great because you can just draw a line over the terrain and then it just plonk all of its elevations down to meet the existing surface. So instead of like moving the mouse over and thinking, oh, what should that be, and then putting the data in, it's going to be a lot easier. But in terms of the visuals, I think the really cool thing I'm looking forward to is the Google Earth export, being able to actually see the construction sites in situ, and you're trying to visualize how this patch of terrain is going to be changed over time within a particular area. Then you'll be able to show this to your customers, and being able to see that in Google Earth, I think it's going to be really a really cool addition for visualizations. There's lots of other things like the ability to not just scale your site plan initially and then you would add the data, but then if you realize actually I've misscaled my site plan, having to undo certain things and re-import data, you'll be able to actually rescale the entire project with all of the data. And I think that's been a long time coming as well. So there's lots of things, but we haven't got time for them, have we?
So what feedback have you received from early testers or people within the business who have had a chance to try it out?
Internally as a team, and I know yourself been involved, where you said, I like this, but this looks a bit weird, and you think, yeah, all right, we had a valid point. And then but that's all positive, that's all constructive, and that's really good. Externally, we've also had a lot of positive support with people who said, I'd like this feature, to a year or so later, I was saying, well, okay, we're going to do it, but we'd like your feedback, and then we have those conversations, and it's really positive too. But yeah, overall, it's been really good, positive experience.
Is there anything you wanted to include that had to be postponed for a future release?
Well, there's always loads that we want to put in, but something that's really important to us is the support of borehole awareness and materials awareness. We're thinking that would possibly be more of a sort of a slightly separate product called Kubla Cubed Ultimate, and we'd release that around about 2029, 2030, that sort of time. But in between that, there's still obviously plans to not just the tools that we've mentioned, that there are lots of other tools that we put part of 2026, and there'll be further things that we're going to actually add as well between now and that time. We do have a spreadsheet of everything that anybody's ever said to us about what they would like. So if people have said it on the forums, if it's on an email, if it's a developer, if it's just a customer that we've met during a trade show, everything that anyone has said all goes onto a spreadsheet, and then it's something that we can sort of reflect upon and then think, okay, now is the time to perhaps introduce this particular feature.
As we get closer to launch, what can users expect to see between now and the release of 2026?
There's going to be, from a development perspective, a certain amount of reflection, and then we might further refine the tools to actually to improve them. It'd be good to, as we move forward, to talk about all the other little sort of various bits and pieces that we haven't had time to mention in this quick chat, and to do a demo of those. So that would be for the upcoming major version. But I also am aware on our YouTube that you've been doing some quick videos of how to use existing software. So there's going to be stuff for people to see for what they can do at the moment, and also what you will be able to do in the future when we get this 2026 finally released.
Thanks to Rich for joining us today, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll be sharing more details as we get closer to release, so keep an eye on our website and our social media channels to keep up with the latest updates. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to revealing more soon.